Imagine a small child, naked, showing signs of severe physical trauma, wrapped in a cheap blanket, and placed inside a cardboard bassinet box like discarded trash on the side of a quiet road. No missing child report was ever definitively matched to him. No frantic parents searching the streets. Just silence. For 65 years he was only the boy in the box. Then in 2022, DNA gave him back his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli, 4 years old. Identification brought closure to his identity, but not to justice. What makes this case linger in the mind isn't just the brutality, it's the contradictions. His body showed signs of recent grooming, fresh haircut, trimmed nails, though it remains unclear when or why this was done. Yet he was severely malnourished, covered in old scars and fresh bruises from blunt force trauma. Investigators determined he died from blunt force trauma to the head. Why prepare a child's body so carefully after such violence? And why, in a city on alert, did no one step forward to say, "That's my son"? Joseph Augustus Zarelli was born on January 13, 1953, in West Philadelphia near 61st and Market. He lived only 4 short years. His biological parents, Augustus Gus Zarelli and Mary Elizabeth Betsy Abel, were not married. Both later married other people and had other children. Both are now deceased. Joseph had living half-siblings. We know little about his daily life. That absence itself is part of the psychological weight. A 4-year-old boy existed in a neighborhood, yet seemingly left no traceable footprint until his death. A college student named Frederick Benonies was chasing a rabbit in the Fox Chase area of northeast Philadelphia when he found the body in the woods off Susquehanna Road. He reported the discovery the following day. Police arrived to a scene that immediately indicated a suspicious death. The boy was naked, wrapped in a plaid blanket that had been cut in half. The cardboard box came from a J.C. Penney bassinet. His hair had been roughly cut short, clumps still clung to the body. There were surgical scars. One on his ankle, one in the groin area suggesting a hernia operation, an L-shaped scar under his chin. He weighed only about 30 pounds. Malnutrition was obvious. Fresh bruises covered him. His arms were folded neatly. This was 1957. Forensic science was limited. No DNA, no widespread databases, fingerprints were the gold standard. Police took his prints and distributed hundreds of thousands of flyers, including with gas bills. They dressed him up in a reconstruction photo to look alive. Recruits scoured the scene and found a blue corduroy cap, a child's scarf, a handkerchief with a G. None led anywhere. Hundreds of leads poured in. A Hungarian refugee, a kidnapped boy, carnival workers, a nearby foster home. One persistent investigator even consulted a psychic. The foster home theory was investigated extensively but never substantiated. All children accounted for. No missing child report matched. That silence pointed to something darker. Someone who knew him chose not to report him gone. Or couldn't. Consider the caretaker or caretakers who last saw Joseph alive. The grooming after death suggests an attempt to restore dignity, or perhaps to erase identity. The rough haircut could indicate haste or an effort to change his appearance. The body was dumped in a semi-rural spot, not far from but not in his home neighborhood. It required some knowledge of the area. The malnourishment and old scars suggest prolonged neglect or abuse. Yet there were also signs of medical care, those surgical scars indicating prior medical treatment. Someone had taken him for treatment at some point. This wasn't total isolation. It was inconsistent care mixed with violence. That pattern often appears in cases where an adult's frustration, control issues, or personal stressors boil over onto a vulnerable child. Interview language from the era and later tips rarely pointed to clear suspects. One woman, Martha Oram, later claimed her mother bought and abused a boy named Jonathan. Police found her story plausible at first but ultimately unverifiable, complicated by her mental health history. Neighbors contradicted key details. In the 1950s, child welfare systems were weaker. Unwed mothers faced stigma. Informal arrangements for children happened outside official records. Details about his parents' relationship at the time remain limited in public reporting. If he was passed between family members or others, the paper trail could vanish easily. Early leads were pursued aggressively, but without modern tools, many dead-ended. Exhumations in 1998 and 2019 were necessary for DNA but highlight how much was lost to time and degradation. Media attention helped keep the case alive but also amplified unverified theories. Public fascination turned Joseph into a symbol, America's unknown child. Yet that symbolism sometimes overshadowed the gritty search for his specific killer. Investigators used genetic genealogy. A relative's DNA in a public database provided the thread. They identified his parents via birth records and verification. Joseph finally had his name. His grave in Ivy Hill Cemetery was updated. On what would have been his 70th birthday, a proper memorial with his photo was unveiled. Here is the deepest cut. We now know who Joseph was. We know where he likely lived. We know he suffered. But we still don't know with certainty who delivered the fatal blows or why his death was hidden so completely. His parents are gone. Time has likely claimed any direct witnesses. The case remains an active homicide investigation. Identification brought a name, but not accountability. What happened in that household or those hands that left a 4-year-old discarded in a box? Was it a single explosive act of rage, or the end point of years of hidden cruelty? Why did the people closest to him stay silent? Joseph Augustus Zarelli's story forces us to confront both the capacity for human violence and the limits of institutions. Limits shaped by era, technology, stigma, and sometimes simple human failure to speak up. Justice, in this case, fractured at the point where a name meets an unanswered question. Who was responsible and how many people looked away? What do you think happened? Comment below. If this case of identification without full justice resonates, check out our playlist on historic justice failures for more stories where answers came too late, or only partially for the victims and their families.